Understanding economics is the key to living life as a man and getting what you want. So let me explain a little bit more about this. So economics, everyone knows kind of what economics is. If you don't, it's how humans interact essentially. And so microeconomics is how we humans interact on like a personal basis, they call them like parties, I believe. And macroeconomics is how, nations interact, governments, all sort of thing. All that shit's worthless. Microeconomics is how human beings perceive each other and how we get what we want. So if you think about this life, pretty much anything that is considered valuable or stuff that people want is only valuable because other people want it, right? It's human beings, we operate on supply and demand. This is how we've evolved over thousands of years. If something was valuable, people inherently wanted it. And this is why, we have so many wars, misunderstandings, all this sort of shit that we're kind of crazy. So, but if you can understand like even a little bit about how to get what you want by giving other people what they want, that is literally it. So for me, I run a roof and gutter business out here in the Pacific Northwest, and I've helped hundreds, if not thousands of other guys start their own business, make tens of thousands of dollars per month. And I get so many questions about, how do you get more leads? How do you get more jobs? How do you make money? And, I give the same answers all the time. You got to run ads. You got to, potentially knock doors, start your website. And I was thinking about like, what aren't people understanding about what they need to do to get the things that they say they want? And it's because people don't really understand these basic principles that we're talking about here right now. And that is, if you are not willing to do something, like other people, how do I say this? Like a great example is knocking doors. Like if you have no money and you're trying to make money, a great way is just going out knocking doors. If you're broke, you probably have time. If you're broke and you don't have time, you got some shit to figure out. Quit your job. Honestly, that's what I started with. I started knocking doors with a pressure washer 5 years ago, back when COVID hit. And I was, not making a ton of money, but I remember that first sale when I knocked on that door and made money just appear out of air, like thin air. That was the coolest experience ever. And from then on, I really kind of started to dive more into this, where if I just do things that other people aren't willing to do, you can pretty much have anything in life. So recently I've been kind of on this obsession. My wife is always like, it's cool to see like ADHD, because apparently ADHD, like you really obsess and focus on one thing and you can't get it off your mind. And for me, recently this has been acquiring land, because, we live closer to the city. You can see kind of the bus stop back there, or the light rail station. And we're looking to get out of the city, buy some land. Problem is, shit is incredibly expensive, and there's not a lot on the market right now. So what I did is I'm cruising through all the vacant properties, and online you can get apps and stuff. You can kind of download lists of vacant properties, and I'm literally just handwriting letters on like, hey, are you guys looking to sell? I'm looking to buy some property. Saw your place, let me know. Really simple. And I've been doing this for hours, and my wife is just like, what are you doing? And I don't know if it's going to work or not. I don't know if anyone's going to message me back or whatnot, but this is the same principle that, with door knocking. It's like, I know other people aren't willing to do this. Most people are just going to see an obstacle and they're like, well, that's going to take work. I don't know how to find property. I don't know how to, get money from people. So I'm just going to give up. And so like inherently, if you want something, you have to realize that other people want it too. And you have to just be able to do what they're not willing to do. That is the basics of, all this, anything that is in this life. And people talk about competition as well. And, I often kind of don't even really like to think in terms of competition, because, Peter Thiel wrote about this in his book 0 to 1, where ideally in a perfect world, you don't compete at all. Like you are the big dog. You are entering a blue ocean. And so this goes for a lot of different businesses. Like anything you really see online where people are like, oh, you need to start this. You need to do this. This is the next like money-making scheme. It's almost always too late. Like it's almost always like now you have to compete with thousands, if not millions of other people. And that's why home service business, I personally really like it, because no one can really compete at the same level. Like, we're in a local market. Like there's a few million houses out here, and there's a bunch of businesses, sure, but I know that I'm willing to do things that other people aren't. Like I have a great website, I knock doors, my main method is Facebook ads. I'm really good at those kind of since day one. I can spend typically sorry, walking up this hill, 20, 30, 40 bucks per day on ads. This brings us, looking at the numbers. And that's another thing that we're going to kind of dive into next, is knowing your numbers. But spending 20, 30 bucks a day, getting leads for, between $6 to $10, let's just call it 10 bucks. So if you're spending 30 bucks on leads, on ads, should be able to get 3 leads, kind of a long-winded explanation. So 3 leads, you close one of those for between $300 to $500, boom, you're making $500 a day. So that's the basic principles. And this is what you have to understand about all these pieces and how they tie together. You have to be able to look at the numbers, see, first off, what do you want? And what are you willing to do to get it? And this can often take a lot of reflection. Sitting back, late at night, in the morning, like I couldn't sleep. I was up at 6 a.m. this morning. I sleep in a little bit longer because I don't really quite have a schedule because I have my own business. Guys working for me, don't want to slip on this plastic. But that's kind of a cool echo. But first, obviously, you gotta know what you want. And this took me a long time to realize. And this is something like man to man. I'm now 28. I'll be 29 in a few months. Just had my first kid. I got married last year, or I guess the year before. It just turned the first of the year. So, just got married, have a kid. Life has changed extremely fast. And I still got buddies, they're overseas, still talking to girls, just the whole like living abroad, free single lifestyle. And that's cool. Like do whatever you want to do. But for me in my life, I realized that I want certain things, and that is namely freedom. And I want to build a life, the original American dream. And it is still alive and well. You can go find a piece of land, build a house on it, and do whatever you want. And so it's you see all this shit on the news, on Twitter, Instagram, where the world is fucked. Like, this is doing that, Elon Musk is doing this, Trump is doing that, and who gives a fuck? Like, people are so worried with and that's kind of like the whole, whether or not you believe the system or the matrix is real, it's all this shit's a distraction, and they make money by distracting you from getting what you want. And so the longer they can keep you scrolling and addicted to your phone, doing nothing, the more the system wins. Like, the financial system is set up for you to fucking lose 100%. Like, because recently I've been having to go, I've been talking, it's just exploring options. We've been looking at houses, looking at land, talking to lenders, talking to, mortgage people, real estate, and just crunching the numbers, seeing kind of what's out there. What can we afford? What can we do? And also not even just what we can afford, like what is smart. Like, personally, we pay just for rent right now $2,400, and so getting a mortgage for like a basic house, not only, first off, it's hard as a business owner. Like, you have to prove all your income, you have to put all your taxes, and it's kind of a bitch. You have to have like a lot more, like a standard W-2. Like, it's way easier to qualify for a house, and nowadays it's just way harder. So, but anyways, back to this example. We looked at a house. It was $725,000. Like, over the life of this mortgage, it would be $1.6 million and $4,600 mortgage per month. Like, that's fucking insane. Like, I make, multiple 6 figures a year, or like almost multiple. Yeah. Made like 200,000 last year. Nothing crazy. We're doing good with business, but, I don't really want to talk a ton about like the specific numbers, because everyone's different. And this example is mostly for anyone who's trying to, get the shit that they want. And right now I've been looking at getting land and all this stuff. That's kind of my obsession. You can see I keep going back to it. But let's see, where were we? We were talking about, there's a fat hill up here. You gotta see. We actually came over to these little woods looking for mushrooms. That was another cool little story. Like, my wife was like, there's not gonna be mushrooms here. This is close to the city. And sometimes that's the best places to look, is when other people are like, there's no way there's gonna be that there. And sure enough, we found a bunch of the chanterelle mushrooms, because no one else thought to look. So we cooked them up, and that was that. And same thing goes for fishing. Like, some of my best fishing spots have been in the middle of a city where no one thinks to look, right? And so these are just some other basic, economic principles. I keep saying economics, like I could just fucking learn the word, I know, but I've been kind of diving into this a little more. If you guys are more interested about this, I would highly encourage you to listen to the podcast How to Get Rich by Naval Ravikant. And he talks a lot more about this and how, all these things intertwine. And I gave the example the other day on another one of my videos. If you haven't watched that one, just go click over there, about a really good example of how these principles work in life is just looking around and seeing like everyday life. Let's say you're driving down the road and there's a car crash. There's 20 minutes of backed up traffic. So you plug in to Google Maps. Let's try not to fall down this hill. You plug into Google Maps, like, okay, I want to get over here. So, oh, cool, there's a shortcut detour. Cool. You turn off the highway, and then boom, what do you know? There's 20 minutes of backed up traffic there now too, because everybody else took that way. So sometimes it was almost just quicker just to go the original way. And so that's called like the tragedy of the commons, when a bunch of people use the same resource and it gets depleted. Fishing is, I believe, the classic example. If you have a very well-stocked lake and there's no regulations, people are going to catch all the fish until there's no fish left. So, and this is something that is really prevalent with online business. So you got to be really careful with, what is everyone else doing? If everyone is doing something, it doesn't really matter what it is, whether it's getting mortgages, whether it's starting a Facebook ads agency. If everyone is doing it, it's probably a good sign not to do it, because you either have to be exceptional, like you have to crush 99.99% of people, because it's a competition, right? If everyone's doing it, you have to compete. Whereas me personally, I would rather see, okay, everyone's doing that, I'm just going to go do what really no one's doing, because no one else is really willing to do it, or they don't know about it. And this is why it's really important to not just study like what is working in the market, like, oh, what is the best business to start? It's to study human behavior, study, stuff like economics, study stuff like psychology. What are people trying to get? What are people trying to do? And if you can provide that to them, like that's how every $billion, now soon we're gonna have $1 trillion companies. These were all started by things that really no one else was doing at the time, or it was revolutionary, and then soon to get copied ruthlessly. But the point of all this is, like I said, find out what you want to do in life, or what you want. Figure out what you're willing to do for it. And if you're not willing to do certain things, like let's say you think you want to be a millionaire, move to Miami, own a Lamborghini. Let's say you think you want that, but then you realize you got to do all this shit. You got to make all this, typically we'd have to make content, a ton of it. You'd have to do some sort of like really massive, like high ticket coaching business. For me personally, I kind of got burnt out with the coaching thing, and I used to do it for home service, but I much prefer just talking like this. So now I have like a group where we have weekly calls. We just talk amongst ourselves. It's a lot cheaper. I mean, honestly, anyone can afford it. So if you guys are interested in getting inside the group, talking with me, the other guys in the group, we got like 115 guys inside. And so if you're looking to start a home service business, definitely hop in. But I wasn't willing to go massively in on the high ticket coaching, where we had some amazing months where we met a lot of great people, made a lot of money, but I just was stressed, wasn't happy, even though I was making 10 times more money than I'd ever made in a single month. It was absolutely insane. And I just knew within myself that I was not willing to do that sort of work. And it's not necessarily being lazy, it's being, the word I would say is aligned. You got to be aligned with exactly what you want, what you're willing to do. Because what you see is a lot of people, if they're doing shit that they don't want to do and they're not aligned with, even when they get their goals, even when they get the car, the house, the girl, whatever, if they had to do a bunch of shit that they didn't want to do, it often doesn't make them feel fulfilled. And that is one of the things, let me walk over here. That is one of the things that's like really funny about life. You see all these guys posting about the things that I want to move to Miami. Like that's just a classic example. I'll keep going back to it. But the things that society brainwashes you to want, then people get it, and then they're still not happy. So, and this is why, for me personally, I had to take a deep look inside, and I was like, I don't really care about cars. I don't care about watches. If the thought of buying a Rolex, to me, is retarded. Like, I do not like people buying, a $20,000 piece of fucking metal to reflect status. To me personally, like, if you have a watch, if you like watches, that's awesome. Like that, and that's cool. Like, whatever is important to you, and that's what we're talking about. So whatever is important to you, go fucking get it, and that's awesome. But for me personally, I just want, like, look at this beautiful land. Like, look at this dirt. I want to just be in the backyard, planting trees, have the dog running around, maybe some animals. I've had chickens before in the past, and they're kind of smelly. They're a lot of work. Maybe we can get some like automatic feeder, so I don't have to actually, like, you gotta wake up, you gotta let them out, and they get eaten a fuck ton. Like, out here we got a lot of predators. Even close to the city, we got, like, you'll see coyotes and stuff living just down the street. It's kind of weird. But anyways, that is pretty much the bulk of today's topic. If you guys have any questions and you guys want to dive into anything else, definitely hit me up in the comments below. I'm going to try and put out a lot more content like this, kind of just more laid back, because it's a lot more fun. I can kind of just chat, and yeah, so see you guys in the next video. Obviously, if you guys want to join the group, also if you need software or a website for your business, we can absolutely do that. You get a free website if you sign up for the software. Right now there's a free 7-day trial for both the group and or the software. So, ideally you just hop in the group. If you want to add the software, cool. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.